Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back for our first review of season 13 of Sister Wives. And I have to say that in this episode, I found myself at 1 minute on Meri's side, on the next not. Either way, these people got on my nerves, but it gives us a lot to talk about. So let's get ready to get started. Go ahead, do me a favor, hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe because that helps me out too. We're reminded that Meri has been talking to the owner of this B&B that she wants to buy for the past 6 to 8 months. The owner lets her know that she is only willing to sell this house to Meri if Meri runs it as a bread and breakfast. Meri ends up calling Cody, tells Cody, grab whoever you're with, and I need all the adults to come over. So as they're heading over, we talk about this catfish again. And Cody lets us know that, this person interrupted our lives, but we had a wake-up call with this situation. And I don't understand what the wake-up call is if you've done nothing to rectify it, like treating this woman better so that she feels a part, so that she isn't here looking for something else. So Meri says, I've been talking to this person and I thought we were becoming friends. And as a result, I found out later that, this person wasn't who they said they were. And the bird interjects and says, yeah, the person was pretending to be a man. Excuse me, bird. But at this point, this is like the 4th season, I believe, that we're hearing about this. So we don't need you to tell us what the situation was. We know. Let Meri talk because you so love to say what's what. So we find out that Cheryl, who was also catfished by Sam, was supposed to come and spend some time with Meri along with Cheryl's daughter. But now she cannot come. So Meri then decides to make a big deal, which is the part that gets on my nerves, call the family over to tell them that Cheryl can't come. They do not really seem to care, nor are they that disappointed about it, but Meri is. So then she says, I was just, looking forward to seeing Cheryl and I really wanted her to come over. But, I have, I just wish she could come. And something about it sounds unhealthy to me. It's like there's this underlying codependency between Meri and the women who have been catfished by Sam. And Christine points out that whether she came or not, that it would be fine. The only reason why she herself is even thinking about this is because it seems to be like it's hard for Meri, and like Meri's the one who can't let this go. And I just want somebody to tell me why after all this time, Meri is still holding on to this. I mean, do we think that it's something that maybe Cody is bringing up behind closed doors or what? Because why are we still talking about this all these seasons later? Meri says that she feels like Leon hasn't dealt with it and like Leon needs some kind of closure and that this meeting would have provided that closure. At this point, Leon is old enough, understands enough, saw enough, witnessed enough, heard enough to figure it out for themselves. Meri says she feels that way about the adults too, like they're not over it, but she's not sure. All the women look kind of baffled. Meanwhile, Cody looks irritated by her saying this. I think the only people who haven't let this go are Cody and Meri. He tells her we're moving on, but in confessional, he's saying like, look, the family isn't stuffing it, but there is underlying trust issues because of what happened. As I said, Cody and Meri have not moved on. So then Meri tells them like, when I went to Oklahoma and when I went on business, my trip on business, well, I met somebody who also was catfished by that same person. Her name is Christy, and she's coming into town this weekend. If I were her family, I too would have been annoyed with her because why do you keep introducing all these random people to us? Why do you feel like we need to continue to relive this over and over again? What is the point? Christine says, you're so weird. And she is. Cody, on the other hand, is kind of excited about this because he wants to get more info about the whole catfishing thing and how you get led down this role and her experience from the lady. And I call bull, because if he was really interested in all of that, all he had to do, in my opinion, was ask for Meri to call her other friend Cheryl and had some type of discussion with them, along with maybe like Nancy or the lady that helped them while they were in Cheryl's town. Janelle suggests that they meet somewhere other than the house just to make sure everything's safe. And I agree, because everyone does not need to know where you live. Janelle said, she really doesn't want to meet her, but she's going to do it despite not really wanting to. I'm with Janelle on that one. So now we're at Janelle's. Caleb calls Christine to get some help with the move. We find out that Maddie, Caleb, and their almost 5-month-old son, Axel, are moving into their own home, which just happens to be a block away from where everybody else is at. So it's far enough that they have their privacy, but close enough that they're close to the family. We find out that Cody isn't there because he has plans. What those plans are, we don't know. We hear Cody say, I always had this feeling that they were going to move close to me, have a grandchild, make me fall in love with them, and then move away. Interesting how he always makes it about him. Once your kids are married and they leave and they're with their significant others, it's definitely not about you, Cody. We, then hear Cody let us know that he has no intentions to stay in Vegas. I don't understand why we had to witness this major struggle for them to leave their big home in Lehigh, vacate it, uproot their kids, to then live in rental properties for over a year, to then build up all these additional properties in a cul-de-sac where you claim that your kids thrive, to now him saying that he wants to go. He said for 3 years he's intended to move, but his wives keep shooting him down. I don't think he had that discussion with all 3 wives. I think it was more so something that he had with Robin, but we'll go with it. Janelle says, now that this whole situation has happened, with Axel being born in her house, she feels like all of her grandkids should be born under one roof. And Cody kind of agrees, and he says, I just feel like wherever we go, we need to have 4 small homes, small being the operative word, and a 5th home for the kids when they decide to come back. See how much he flip-flops, because how did you go from these 4 small homes to this huge home for Robin? To this one big home, to the wives and kids thinking that you're going to have 4 homes, to then saying back to you want 4 and you want your own. Not one for the kids, but one of your own. Back at the B&B, or back to the B&B, can't say it. Meri let them know that she has put an offer for the house, that the down payment, however, for a business loan is 40%. Cody says, okay, so what percentage do you have? Which is a reasonable question, even though I can't stand him. She says at this time that she has maybe 10%. He suggests that, maybe she kind of pulls some of the money out of her current house. Cody says, call an appraiser and have your house looked at, because we aren't going to do it to the other homes, just yours. He says, given this, right? Are you willing to risk putting these houses, or putting your house, I should say, at risk by doing this, by pulling equity out of the home? And Meri claims that that's a weird question. I don't think it is, but she flips it by asking, are you all willing to have a complete stranger in between your houses? First of all, to me, that's a little manipulative. Second of all, you don't see each other enough for them to be concerned about whether or not there's somebody else there. Be worried about what's going on with your house. Meri says if he can say he loves his wives the same, then I can say that I love both of these homes the same way. And she's laughing, but I don't really find it funny. That might just be me. It's another day. Everyone comes over and Meri is so excited because she found out that she has gotten approved for her loan. Cody says, so then you've got the down payment then too. Now, Cody knows that this lady didn't have that down payment, okay? But this is what he says. He says he doesn't like that the family just celebrates these half measures because this isn't done. So why are they celebrating? She says, once I have the down payment, then I can close in as few as a couple of weeks. Cody says, okay, so basically they're all celebrating her. They're going to be the heroes, and now I'm going to be the bad guy. Meri says she's been working like crazy. So at this point, she now, before told us that she had 10% of it. So now she says she has half of it, which is $40,000. Speaks volumes to Meri's work ethic. So she still needs $40,000. Cody, who never talks about his business, tells us that Brian and I in our business, and he's kind of gloating because he has his hands behind his head like this and everything. He says, we've had enough money come back from our original loan from the family that we can, pay that back. He's really happy to put this information out, but I don't really feel like he really ever had intentions of giving this money to Meri. He then tells us that him and Brian have goods that they have taken to a distributor, and now they fulfilled their entire project, and as a result they should have some good amount of money coming back. He said we borrowed some money from the family to do it, and I originally, and I still, despite what goes on because these women like to lie for Cody, wondered if they knew that they did that. So now we should have $40,000 to pay back, to the family, he says, so I can pay it to you instead. So Janelle is shocked that they have that money in his business. And she says, I'm just not going to say anything in this moment, because if he does have this money and if he can give it to her, it will be good for their relationship. Christine asks, do you have a business plan? And Meri in confessional is like, I'm too busy to worry about a business plan. But she tells Christine no. The family is trying to reasonably talk about the potential of having this business, about if it will be viable, about how it will support the family. And at her core, Meri does not care. She wants what she wants. Cody's like, if we're investors, does that mean we could be on the board and tell you how to run it? Meri says, no. I would have said no too. She does not want business meetings about the house. Robin says, yes, with all the other businesses, we had to present a business plan when we wanted to borrow money from the family. That is not true, though. Even though Janelle is smiling as, Robin is saying this, it's not true, because we know that it took Robin many years before a Sister Wives Closet business plan was done. They even paid to get somebody to come in and help them do it, just because they wanted to present it to that financial group. So don't act like everybody does this. Meri grabs what little she has. Christine says she was hiding, and she gives it to them. It's like some papers or whatever. So Christine says she was hiding this business plan. So it's obvious that she's probably hiding some other things. So I got to dig in there. I'm like, okay, Christine, she said that it was a rough draft and it wasn't ready to be presented. So don't it's not that big of a deal. Cody says this looks like it's poorly planned, so they're going to see if they can make it work. He says, I have to think about making sure that I can make money in my sleep, because I still have all these kids to get through college. After everyone leaves, he apologizes for his initial reaction to Meri. She gets his apprehension, especially since they just bought their homes 5 years ago. She says she does intend to turn a profit, not just with her clothing business, but with this B&B as well. And he hugs her and says that he'll make sure that he talks to their business partner. So it's a new day. Meri's at the airport to pick up who she's calling her friend. So this girl that you met who was catfished by Sam is now your friend, and her name is Christy. This is yet another one of the ladies, as I said, that got catfished. As I said before, I don't understand why Meri is so desperate for friendship and why she latches on so quickly to people, because she's presenting this lady as her friend. She says Christy just wanted to come out and have a chance to tell her story, and I don't understand why. We don't know her. You're sitting here telling us about this lady's story when we still don't know what Meri's story is, to the point where most of what we know isn't because of what Meri told us. It's because of what the catfish released to social media. It's not because Meri ever came out and said it. To this day, she's still denying a lot of it or making excuses for it. It just shows the lengths that Meri was willing to go to cover up what she's done. Own it and keep it moving. We would have understood. Meri's husband was trash, and he cheated on her emotionally and physically, if you count the other wives, and he didn't love her. And you wanted love, and you were ready to leave, and it turned out wrong, and now you're stuck. I'm not going to go all the various details that she gave and all the stories, but Christy and Meri were being catfished at the same time. They are united, according to Christy, because of what they went through. Unless you've been through it, you don't understand it. This woman was going through a separation. She was lonely, same way like Meri, and the man found her, which seems to be a common thread is that all these ladies are lonely. After 5 days of communication, he told her he was falling in love with her, and eventually she felt that way too. Meri says, I just don't understand why she does this. Is she evil? Is she lonely? We don't know, Meri. She's some of the same things that you are. Maybe not the evil part, but lonely. The lady, even at one point, moved the catfish. She didn't know it was the catfish, but moved the catfish into her home for 2 weeks under the pretense that this was the best friend of the catfish, and the catfish needed help with the best friend because she had heart surgery. That's insane to me, and there's no way that I would do that. It's so irresponsible to move a random person that you don't even know, not only into your house, but around your children. It's not safe. Anything could have happened in that time. What if the lady decided to get up and to assault you? So like, we got to be smarter with these choices. So she tells more stories about how she was watched and how she was put off balance and all these other things. Some of the same things Meri said. And the only person who genuinely seems to be interested in this, in my opinion, is Christine. Robin looks more annoyed than anything, and Cody looks like he's just trying to get more information to hold against Meri. So Meri says she's really mean and she's really scary. And Cody says, what would she say, Meri? This is in confessional. What would she do? And Meri says she would yell at me. Then she would threaten me. No, this is not going to work anymore. That's the same thing that you've been saying since you told us about this thing, is that this person threatened you. Was she threatening to expose you? Was she threatening to show pictures that you sent? Was she threatening to play voicemails or show text messages or the things that you provided her with? What exactly were those threats? We know you said something about harming the family, but what else? Cody then is thinking like me, because Cody is tired of the vague stuff. And Cody says, what kind was it? He wants to know what was said because none of them had experienced it. And supposedly he's trying to relate to it. Now, I don't think he was really trying to relate to it. I think he just wanted more info from Meri. But Meri is frustrated because at this point, even now in 2024, she's still trying to act like she doesn't know how to face this matter and that she didn't do anything wrong when she did. Cody says that the same way she's sitting there saying that her family investigated this person, at one point he got a private investigator and found out that the people that Meri was talking to didn't even exist. I don't know if I believe that he paid extra money into that, but that's what he claims, so whatever. He said he just doesn't, understand how it could get to that point. And Christy's family also found out that hers wasn't real, mainly her father, because her father is a part of clergy, and her father used his connections at the hospital to find out that the person that was supposedly in the hospital had heart surgery and all those other things didn't even exist. So Christine says being in love and falling in love is one of the most beautiful things in the world. And thinking that someone would use this against the person is absolutely horrible. How can you trust? And Meri is sitting there looking like, yeah, that's how I feel. I just don't know how I can trust. That's how she's sitting there saying. So, Meri is sitting there listening and saying that she can't, she's feeling all these feelings as they're talking about it again. If you get a chance, look at this section of the thing, because I feel like as Meri's talking about how hard this whole thing is and talking about it again, that Robin to me looked like she was smirking when it was said. Meri will forever appear as a victim when it comes to this story, but I don't buy it. I just don't. Anyways, Christy gets the approval of the adults and is told that she's allowed to be around the rest of the family. So it's another day. Isabelle is working on her scoliosis exercises. At this point, it's been 2 years since they discovered that she has scoliosis. They talk about the boot camp in Michigan and how it, was so successful, but I feel like it just got their hopes up. So we see a flashback of her saying, sometimes she just wants to have the surgery and get it over with because she doesn't want to deal with all these extra things anymore, like the exercises and the braces and all these other things. They claim that after she went to this boot camp, that after 2 weeks, she saw a 10 degree decrease, meaning that she went to 35 degrees. But this did not come from her original doctor, so I didn't feel like it was really that accurate. And I said that in my previous review. So today she's going to her medical doctor to figure out what things are looking like. So Christine says this appointment will show us one of two things: if you aren't doing your exercises enough, or it will show us the reality of whether or not Skull Smart works. She has to wear the torso trainer for 7 minutes for at least 4 times a day. As a result, she can't do after school programs. She can't hang out with her friends. She can't do things that normal kids do. So even though they were talking about the brace, this too is kind of putting a damper on some things. She's a little bit more comfortable, but there's still other areas that is holding her back. Because she's at home with that apparatus on. So they get to the doctor, she gets x-rayed. He looks at the x-rays. They're thinking that they're going to see like a 35. And he says, you're close to where you were before. Before you were at 40 and now you're at 42. Which goes back to what I said in the original episode, was that I did not feel like there was a way for her to go into a 10-degree difference of improvement in less than 2 weeks. Isabelle is blaming herself and says she could have done more, but I don't think that that's the case. Cody and Christine, being the medical doctors that they are, say that they feel like it's because the exercises are working, that she only, increased by 2 degrees and it's slowing down. But the doctor says, it's kind of hard to tell. There is no way that y'all are sitting here in one breath saying that she had improved by 10 degrees. And now you're sitting here saying that is 2. It only grew 2 in 6 months. Which one is it? Which one are we believing? Because your statements are contradicting each other. He says that the exercises may not be working, but they aren't hurting anything. He says the moment that a child is diagnosed with scoliosis, their parents become desperate. And as a desperate parent, you then become vulnerable to manipulation, which may also lead to them being taken advantage of. And as I hear him talking, I said, okay, it's clear. He does not believe that what they're doing is worth it, but he already told them in the beginning that he didn't feel like it was going to be that successful, but they're just so desperate for a hint of light at the end of the tunnel that they're willing to hear anything at this point. So Cody is sitting in Christine's library. He calls Brian, even though he told us about how great Brian and him did and how they finished whatever they were supposed to finish to do beforehand. And now he'll be able to get it $40,000 to put into Meri's business. Now he's telling us that they had a project that they were working on that didn't turn out as great as he thought it would. So they're going to liquidate it. I'm confused. Mother bleep, 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 He's a liar. Cody knew good as well he ain't had that money. In cash, they only have $20,000. You hear him on the phone. He said, "Here's the thing. Here's the thing of Brian. I've gone back to the family budget, and even though I told Meri that we had this money because she needs it because she's about to buy a house. That's what she's about to do. I actually need that money for the family budget." He's telling all of this on the phone to Brian. So you're clearly just making a scene, because why do you need to tell Brian all of that? So his plan is to go back and tell Meri, I spoke too soon. And this is why Meri gets upset. as in my opinion, she had every right to be at the end of this episode. Do you think that I'd allow this irresponsible man who thought that you had 40,000 extra dollars, but is now saying that they don't really have extra anything to do anything in regards to business or money with me? My answer is no. So he calls the ladies. Meri has not arrived yet, but I don't think he ever sent out the message to Meri to come when he did. He probably told her a completely different time. All right. So all the wives come and he lets them know what happened, which of course is going to put Meri in defensive mode because everybody else is going to know before her. Just goes to show once again, she's not really considered a wife. Christine says it's a huge problem for Cody to say that we have the money when we really don't have it. It's a big problem. And it is. She says Meri is very black and white. She's a black and white type of person. So this is going to be a problem. She's going to assume that we have this money when we don't. Cody says her business plan doesn't work for us yet. Robin is sitting there with her arms folded and says, we haven't seen her business plan yet. And that's something that we don't do. Whenever we come to the table to do business, we have a business plan to present to the family. They're letting this keep going on and her keep saying this, but Robin didn't have a business plan when she originally did the Sister Wives Closet. Instead, she presented them with that tacky jewelry for Christmas and then ran with it from there. He then brings up how he's bothered that Meri won't allow them to be partners in the business, and he wants this to be equitable for the family. Christine said she's looking for a loan, but you want one of the stipulations to be that you're an equity partner? And Robin's like, yeah, that's only fair, which shows to me that Robin and Cody talked about this prior because Christine didn't think that they were going to be equity partners at first. And this is when I get it. The family is not listening to what she's asking for. Meri, even though she has this way of kind of being in the middle, did not want them to be a part of her business. She wanted a loan from them to get her house before someone else got it. He says, you don't work on her business and she doesn't work on your business, but yet all of us help with that business. That's not true because we saw Christine work on Robin's business at some point. We saw Meri work on it from the very inception of it, and she kind of pulled away and didn't work as much once the whole catfish thing started happening and she decided she wanted to go back to school because Robin got offended about her wanting to go back to school because Robin wanted her to continue to be a slave to her and work for free. My opinion, you tell me yours. Meri puts just as much time into that business as Robin did. And I think it's really unfair for them to act like she didn't. Janelle says, we've always worked together on the financial, and this is just an extension of that to me. She wants a loan. All that talk about making sure everything is equal across the board is just BS because that's not what he does. Janelle says, look, we're doing some weird things here. Let's just wait for Meri to come. And I'm like, finally, let's just wait. So, what did I say here? I forgot to put my stuff on Do Not Disturb. And somebody's trying to FaceTime me. And they're messing up my stuff. Okay, so the part says, Meri questions. What? Y'all, I'm all jacked up. The part says, Meri questions where we were at. Oh, Meri questions where we were at with her, and we don't quite understand it all the way. But I think we all kind of know that the more we can do, the more to reassure her that we support her, the better. Oh, the bird. The bird is saying that Meri questions where they're at with her. But if they do more, then they can support her more. So, he tells them that he'll have the money come spring. The bird says, family bills has to be taken care of from what you're saying. And then, we can help later. If we do it now, we'll be in the hole. How much is TLC paying them? And what are they doing with this money that you're struggling to come up with $40,000 to give her as a loan? The bird is bothered about it just being a loan. I feel, on the other hand, that this was the best decision that Meri could have made. So Meri comes over. All the adults have obviously been there for a long time. She notices it. She comes in and her energy is off. She points out that when Janelle and Robin were pitching their businesses and their ideas and what they needed from the family, that it wasn't a thing where everybody had to be involved or where she wasn't involved to be there to listen to the pitch. And here they are, and it's obvious they had certain conversations without her being present, and this is true. Cody says, we redid the budget. The money that I thought we were going to get, we basically need for taxes, tuition, family budget, even groceries. We just don't have it. Meri says, we don't have it even if it's a short-term thing, meaning if you loan me this $40,000 just for now and I can pay you over time, do we still not have it? Which reiterates that Meri just wanted to borrow money from them in order to purchase the business. Cody says, all of us, when we went into business, became equity partners on that business. You said we couldn't be equity partners. If you don't have money for it, then why are you even having this discussion? Meri says, this is a weird thing to bring this up now. The Bird says, as far as, working together and getting it done, that's what we've always done. That's what we do with our businesses, though. Bald Eagle says, it's also what I've done with all the family members. Christine says, I was just wondering. No, you weren't, because Christine, you weren't thinking about this until Cody put it in your head. You wanted to know whether or not there were going to be equity partners. Meri's like, look, at this point, I have my walls up and it's clear that they got together and they've made this decision. Cody, who told her that they didn't have the money, then says the answer is yes on certain conditions, but we don't have it right now. We need to revisit this in the spring. And Meri says, I'm not waiting until the spring. I can't. She's going to put it up for sale. I do not think that Meri was lying. After all, as I said earlier, they begun this process where she was talking to this lady over 6 months ago. She started talking to this lady on the way to Madison's wedding, which is actually, that's even longer than 6 months, because Madison, was it Madison or was it McKelty's? Either way, somebody's wedding. At this point, there's now a whole baby who's 5 months. It's been at least 8 months of her sitting over here trying to get this property. So she says, I'm going to leave right now so I can do some sales because I got to bust my butt so I can make the other 40,000. So them trying to force their way into being partners and making choices in her business, to me, has to deal with them wanting to be in control. Janelle feels like she's shocked and that she's throwing a tantrum when she says this, like, okay, y'all won't do it. Okay, I'll show you. And I don't think that it's a tantrum, though. And you all tell me what you think down below, please. I feel like Meri is frustrated because she doesn't want them to be a part of the business and that she just needed to come out and say it. She wants a short-term loan over the course of whatever time she wants it, and then she pays them back the money without having to sit down and have various discussions about what she's going to do with her business. Janelle says, so if you bust your butt and do this, are we all going to be excluded from the business? Meri says, I didn't say you were and you weren't. Meri, tell them that the answer is that they will be excluded from the business. You don't get to pick and choose when you become a part of my business. You don't want to put anything into it, then you don't get anything out of it. Don't continue to utilize Meri for your own convenience in the family when it comes to financial gain. Janelle says that's because they feel like they're together even after death, that they feel like the family is supposed to work together and grow personally and challenge themselves. And we see where Janelle gets that thought process from and what that's done to her. Because currently Janelle owns no home and her money is tied up with the Bird and the Bald Eagle. Right now, you're left with a property on Coyote Pass that you can't even build on because of that thought process. Cody says, I'm confused as to why we wouldn't be an equity partner. You can see that Meri is frustrated and overwhelmed. He says, sweetie, you shut down the idea when I brought it up. Okay, so now she's sweetie because you want something from her. Meri says, it's like they are sitting here talking about me It's obvious that they talked about this. Cody said this house is about Meri and her family. It's not about how it's going to benefit our children. It's very quickly turned from that after several months that you didn't want to really be a part of this, that Meri wanted it for herself. And I'm going to be honest, at first I was annoyed and I felt like Meri was selfish, but I get why she moved the way she moved. So Cody says, we've always been where we go one, we go all. We all bring effort to the table and support the family. You've been one to go all at certain times, because there were times where Janelle has said that she's left you. So it wasn't really we go one, we go all. Robin doesn't have a job and she only watches her kids. How much is she really contributing? Everybody goes around the table and says it's not personal and we really want to support you and blah, 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 blah. Let her go. Meri says, I had a sense of urgency. My focus is making sure that I get this building first. And once I get it, I'll work out all the business things later. Cody says in confessional, we're dancing around the issue while Meri's just trying to fight for her. I need her to stand up and say, I don't need you guys. Cody says, we have to find it. Meri says, you cannot control my business and my house though. And that's where the conversation needed to end. She does not want your help. She wants your money. You're not going to give it to her. Let her go make it. Robin says, I spent a lot of time on my sister wives closet, and I know that how hard this is, and that the money that we're making goes back into the family. That's the agreement I made with my family. Oh, please. You're not even making a whole bunch of money on that. Cody then starts talking about, Meri's mom and what involvement she's going to have. And Meri's like, I don't understand why you don't get at this point that I'm not thinking about the business. I'm just trying to move forward. He says, I need to see the profit potential. I get that Meri went back and forth about what she was going to do with this property. 1 minute, it was just going to be this, and Christine's mom was going to be in it. Then another minute, her mom decided that she wanted to live there, so her mom was going to probably be in it. But y'all didn't put your name on the initial phase of her trying to get the loan from the bank, and you're not willing to put money towards the business, so shut up. He then brings up his 20-month-old child and how he has to support her to get to college. We get it. Christine says, Cody, you're coming off as super aggressive right now. And Meri kind of snaps a little bit and she says, look, I've been with the guy for 27 years and I understand his attitude. It's all too much for me. She says, I don't remember the last time I bothered Cody for anything, but for some reason he thinks that I'm trying to nickel and dime him. I make my own money. I do my own thing. This is a 5-room house that I'm only allowed by city codes to rent out for the bed and breakfast. He says it's not 5, it's 4 with the caretaker. It's not one of the rooms. They're going back and forth on this as to where they're going to stay, where they're not going to stay. But as I said earlier, you're not putting money in it, so why does it matter what you think? Meri said, there has always been 4 rooms. We're just going in circles. Christine says, I don't know where you get 4 from, and I also don't know where you go from here. Meri says, I'm going to just go sell some clothes. Christine says, this is what we do. We're trying to figure it out. This is what we did with my sister wife closet, and this is what we did with Strive. And I'm like, Strive? So basically, Janelle has something about empowering the community called Strive. Meri just tell them thank you. You don't have to worry about being a part of my business. I'm done with this. Robin says, it's a vulnerable feeling. Meri begins to cry and says she doesn't know what to do. Robin says, man, I know this place. This guy fought with me. She says, Cody doesn't care about passion. Cody just gets really aggressive when it comes to business because he did the same thing with me in my sister wives closet. And if the choice is your business or his kids going to college, he's going to pick his kids going to college. He's about the numbers, and this is just what he does. I actually get why Meri left in tears. She was frustrated. They kept saying they wanted to support her, but it felt to me like they wanted to control and profit off of her. Meri leaves and says she'll try to figure out what she'll do. She appreciates that they're willing to help, but she's going to figure out the money. He said, I'm personally a little frustrated because it seems very selfish to me that Meri's doing this, and I'm deeply bothered by it. I'm deeply bothered that this is all about Meri. Just like Janelle's business Strive is about her, and Rob's business is about her. And Cody, your business is about you too. He says, I need Meri to rise up on this one. She needs to get up for her spiritual development and say, I'm going to rise and figure this out. Did these people not listen when she said she came up with the $40,000 on her own and that she's just going to have to sell some more clothes? Is that not rising and figuring it out? I promise you, this situation and this whole last part of the show, to me, it felt like all the adults around her were gaslighting her and watching them talk in circles, and it was giving me a headache. He needs Meri to let him know that the mother won't infringe on it. Meri could probably do this, in his words, for herself without it being a business, but she's asking to use their resources, and their butter, you know, is already spread thin on toast. Christine says she's not asking for that. I said, finally. She says she's saying that she just wants the loan. We don't have to put all of our stuff at risk. He doesn't want to hear it, but she's not. He said, I'm not on the same page with Christine did. I'm not on the same page with Cody on this one, that I don't agree with what he's saying. And he tells Janelle, can you very calmly let Meri know that we've had to, you know, share putting Leon through college and the other kids through school as one family, and just, you know, just help it make sense. Okay, I get what he's saying, but I don't understand why you're trying to stick another wife on her, number one. And number two, if you put it that way, then could you not say the same thing about Meri? Because that means that Meri had to share in the expenses of not just Leon, but your kids as well. And y'all like to talk about how expensive Leon's school is, but that's one child versus all these others that she's expected to help get through school. So let's do that math. He leaves and says, I apologize for the ass that I've always been. Meanwhile, you see Meri at home beating herself up about putting up a wall. And I'm like, it's good for you, Meri. Y'all tell me what you think. They always like to act like Meri is so difficult about this and she's so difficult about that. Is she selfish in this situation? Yeah, she's selfish because she's putting money into her own business that she wants for her own family. But you know what? Good for her. Financial literacy is real, and what we're seeing here is a bunch of financially illiterate people, because they don't talk about it, but the Browns have filed for bankruptcy at some point. There's a reason why this family, after being on the show for all these years, has nothing significant to show for it. She wanted a loan, not a partnership, but they were asking for a business plan like they were the person who needed a guarantee that they were going to receive this payment. Cody started and invested in all these so-called businesses, even the one that he has with Brian. And I doubt that the wives had any input in that or even knew what some of those businesses were. I doubt that he presented a business plan every time he did that, because he's just not that type of person. We saw him go to meet this architect lady to get her to draw up something and even do 3D imaging on it, computerize it and some more stuff to show this one house. He didn't consult the ladies for that, and you got to pay money to get that done. It's not cheap. So it's just one of the many instances where he does what he wants to do and then tells them later. I don't know. I feel like there are instances where Meri is selfish, but then I sit back and I watch stuff like this and I understand why. You all let me know your thoughts down below. As I said earlier, like the video, and until next time.